It is vlog number 188. A quick disclaimer out of the gate. Normally when I shoot these vlogs, I go in there with a plan on the day to do a vlog. And that's certainly not every time I go play poker. And when I do that, I bring in this phone, my iPhone 13 mini, to shoot the vlog on. And I have my regular phone, the iPhone 10, to take notes on. And without having both of them, it's a very difficult process to do as well as I believe I'm capable of doing it. So when this particular event occurred, I didn't bring this one with me, unfortunately. Wish I had, but I was left with the challenge of doing everything on just this one phone. So when you combine that with the fact that I was stuck in the 6th seat, not ideal for filming in terms of angles, we're not going to have the video quality that I'd like. But when it comes to game quality, well, we are certainly going to have that on this vlog. And when you hear that a Hollywood celebrity jumped in my game, I'm sure plenty of you already know which one I'm talking about. Mr. Randall Emmett, a producer of big-time Hollywood movies. I mean, the guy produced The Frickin' Irishman, for God's sakes. So he is a super well-known figure in Hollywood, and at this point has become that in poker as well, playing on Poker Go, playing on Live at the Bike. If you watch poker, you probably know who Randall is, and you probably know that Randall does not show up to play tight and not give action. And, well, that's what we saw on this edition of the vlog. Randall Emmett couldn't have picked a more Reno-centric, all-locals lineup to play in. I was in there along with Mr. C, aka Slick, Mr. Z, Turtle, the Pro MC, Reno Grinder, and several others. Somehow he already knew, Randall that is, that I was a vlogger and a local newscaster before he ever even sat down in the game. He was obviously tipped off about that by someone at Peppermill before. And to put it mildly, I got to hear it from him about both those things throughout the entirety of the day, which is fine. The first hand would come when Emmett straddles to 75, and I pick up ace-king and make it 260. He makes the call, as you would expect. I got an ace-high flop, but he didn't give me any action on my flop bet. I'd also win a hand that didn't come against Emmett, but when I 3-bet Mr. C's straddle with Jack-10 of spades, Pocket Queens called me on my immediate left. That was Turtle. I got a Jack-high flop and then went runner flush and got paid off on the river, taking down about a $900 pot. It's too bad for Randall Emmett that he doesn't know Slick as well as I do.
Yeah, stop talking, okay, Slick?
We saw a 3-way pot with local pro Turtle, Slick, and Emmett going to the flop 3 ways after Slick made it 750 before the flop. And he and Emmett would get it all in, playing 5,000 effective, with pocket aces prevailing against Emmett's ace-3 offsuit with the ace of diamonds on Jack-7-4 all diamonds. Shortly after that, I'd lose back about $425 of my winnings to Emmett with a Broadway draw and nut flush draw when I simply bricked the river. I then flopped trips and ended up losing a big pot to Emmett on the river, and it was just one of the most forgettable moments that I've had in recent years. It's one of those I'm actually glad I didn't get it on tape because I'm just trying to forget about it. Anyway, I had trips, a flush hit the turn, and I had raised him there anyway. He called, river came a brick, and I super down bet this river, kind of thinking he would raise with a bluff. He did raise. But before he raised, he went on a tirade, like a super Hollywood-esque tirade, and this guy is Hollywood. So if there's ever a guy that knows how to Hollywood, I would have thought it was him. Anyway, I just became convinced that he wouldn't Hollywood this hard and still raise as a bluff. Turned out I was wrong, as he showed 5 high. I then overlimp aces MP1 preflop, and Emmett straddles to 50 on the button, and 2 others call as well. He can certainly be counted on to raise, and he does. He makes it 100 more, and under the gun, decides to call that. I come back over the top here to 450, and the hijack folds, but Emmett, as you can imagine, does not. The other guy had a decision, but ultimately decided to surrender his hand as well. So with 1,150 in the pot, the flop is jack high. I decide to bet out for 300 here, and he thinks about it for a minute and puts in a stack of hockey pucks. Obviously a snap call for me, creating a $3,130 pot, and my aces are up against Jack 10 offsuit with the 10 of clubs. So I'm in great shape, but I'm by no means a lock to win this hand. Let's check the run out.
You've seen those before.
So aces hold, and one of the biggest pots of 2022 is headed our way. This is a mid-session update. This is Molly. She's from Minnesota. She doesn't suck at poker at all. In fact, I think I can go on record of saying that nobody crushed the Peppermill Poker Palooza more than her. But that's not why I'm here today. Why I'm here today is to point out that no woman has ever worn more awesome earrings than she is wearing right now. Now, the question is this. Your favorite line from that movie is what?
English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
English, motherfucker, do you speak it? Yes.
I then avoided disaster in a hand where I raised King Jack of diamonds to 75 and Turtle called on my left and Emmett defended. The flop was King 8-5 2 clubs, and they both called me when I bet 150. The turn was the 10 of clubs and I checked. Emmett bet 500 and I just folded this hand, being stuck in the middle here. Turtle called, I'm not sure what he had, but Emmett won the pot going runner runner full house with 10-5 offsuit. Playing against guys like Randall can obviously be tough in a lot of spots, and this was just one example. He straddles to 75, and I have pocket eights in the cutoff and make it 160. The others fold, and he calls. So with 330 in, the flop is 9-3 deuce with 2 hearts. You can see how this could be problematic. He fires out for 300 here, and he could be doing this with literally any pair or any draw here. I make the call, and with 930 in, the turn is the 5 of hearts. He fires out for 500, and as you can see, I don't have a heart in my hand. He could easily be bluffing here, but he'd make this bet with a hand like Queen 9 for value for sure. So I just decided to throw it away, and he shows a 3. So it's unclear if I folded the best hand or not, but chances are I probably did. Then Slick got Emmett again. He was again holding aces, which apparently was the only hand he was playing on the day, but that went kind of unnoticed. All the money went in on a king high board, and aces won against King Jack, and Mr. C was in abject beast mode against Emmett. Emmett then beat me out of a few more pots, including one when I called his $75 straddle with pocket sixes, and he min-raised it, with the flop coming 9-7 deuce, and he had slow played the 9-7. Fortunately, I didn't lose any more, as the turn came a third heart and I folded to his overbet. So combine that with flopping 2 overcards and a queen high flush draw and breaking out before losing to just a pair of 3s, and I'd gone from being up 2,000 to being up only 800. Emmett kind of went into beast mode for a minute there. He was straddling every hand, some, like this one, up to 400 live before the flop. That included a pot that I didn't get on video when he 3-bet 9-4 offsuit to 400 and ended up flopping 3 9s in the process. So he'd been playing literally every hand at this point, just about, and he then calls me out on vlogging in the middle of a hand. And as you can see the board, and then taking a look at my hand, you can see that I had a flush in this spot. And since he was calling me out on the vlogging, I just went ahead and embraced it.
We got stand-up comedy on the blog.
I make it 300, and he makes the call.
Look at this guy, we got another fucking vulture.
The river was the last thing in the deck I wanted to see. It came another spade. Playing 2,500 effective, I'd basically already decided that if he went all in, I was going to fold. But I was probably going to call a bet of 800 or so if he made one. Instead, it just went check, check, and he announced his flush, but only had the 3 of spades with his king 3 offsuit, and my 8-high flush was the best hand. Then James, the actual professor, not the guy who I called the professor, haven't seen him around much lately, sat down in the game. Emmett straddles to 150. The player 2 to my right makes it 500, and I have pocket 10s, MP1. This is tricky, because this guy who just made it 500, he has been playing super patiently. But in a game where Emmett's probably going to be in there, do I really just want to fold 10s here before the flop? I thought it was kind of close, but ultimately I decided to call the 500. But James starts thinking about this before ultimately jamming all in. And I pretty much called him out and I said, either you're not paying attention or you have a huge hand here. It would turn out that one of those two things was true. Emmett folds and the initial raiser under the gun decides to call off for the 2,000, which was pretty much his entire stack. I am clearly beat here. I fold the 10s. It ended up being James with kings and the other player with jacks. So I was in third place here. Mike Nelson, poker room director, was watching the hand, tells me not to look at the board, and I wish I'd taken his advice as the board came 10 high. After that, I proceeded to go on just a god-awful run. And this is where the problem of not having both my phones really became problematic for showing you an accurate picture of how this night ultimately played out for me. Because as you saw, I won a couple of big hands there, but I would go on this run of getting the exact wrong kinds of hands that you want to get when you're having a live 300 every other hand. And that's medium strength hands. You want monsters or you want nothing, but that was not what I was getting. I just kept getting the 9-10 suited and the pocket 5s and the ace-10 suited. And I wish I had the ability to just throw those hands away like guys like Reno Grinder are pretty good at doing. They just knit it up and wait for only the nuts and play monsters. And for the aforementioned Reno Grinder, that actually worked out very well for him as he booked a big win on the day implementing that exact strategy. But that's just not me. I've always wanted to try to get in there and mix it up and see flops and try to play hands through in a cash game format, and that was kind of my undoing on the day. So all those hands I just mentioned were all hands that I lost. So I went from being up about 2,000 at the high water mark to having given back almost all of my profit. By the way, with regards to the film that I mentioned off the top of the vlog, produced by Randall Emmett, we're talking about The Irishman. I love that exchange between Pacino and De Niro. So, I heard you paint houses. Yeah, I do.
I heard you paint houses. Yes, sir, I do.
It was just so simple. That was probably my favorite part of that entire extremely lengthy Martin Scorsese movie. And as you know from watching this vlog, I love me some Martin Scorsese movies. Anyway, as far as this session, just extremely disappointed in myself. There's just no two ways about it. I came out only $242 ahead. And just largely due to the fact that the hand that I'm always going to remember was one I didn't get on video at all that happened when I flopped 3/8. I was trying to check raise. Randall didn't bet. Turn came a third club. And this time he did bet, and I was able to get the raise in. The river, I decided to down bet. And basically, I assumed he was going to be raising on a lot of bluffs, which he did do. But the thing that I didn't account for was the fact that he would go on this tirade after I bet the river. He would basically just put on a show. Hollywood. I mean, he is Hollywood, obviously. He knows how to do it. He knows how to put on an act. But over the course of my career, the vast majority of the time where someone does a ton of acting in a hand, it's because they want you to call. Now, obviously, that is not 100% reliable, but it's been very reliable for me over the years. I assumed that was probably going to be the case here, so I decided to fold the 3/8, assuming that he had either a full house or a flush of some kind. Turned out that he just had 5 high, and I made one of the worst laydowns of my entire career. So would have been really interesting for me to see how the day would have ultimately played out had I not made that fold, but you can't do it. And it's just one of those unfortunate moments throughout the journey of a poker player that I'm going to remember for quite some time, no doubt about it. But hey, I still booked to win on the day, and quite frankly, I'm still kicking some serious ass on the year.